What's going on, guys? Afflicted here. We are back once again with a new video for our Legion Talent Review series. And next up, we have an entirely new class. So we went ahead and covered all of the specs that Warlocks have to offer. And now we're up to a new class entirely. This is going to be Shaman, is the next class I decided that we're going to do, because I feel like it's the class that I know second best in the game. Of course, Warlock is my main, so I know that one the best. But Shaman is probably second best. And the spec we're going to go ahead and do first is Restoration Shaman, because that's the one I've played the most, and that's the one I feel like I can give the most insight on. So the first thing we're going to do here before we jump into the actual talents is we're going to take a look at the abilities. We're going to look at what new abilities we have, and we're going to look at what old abilities we don't have, okay? So first let's talk about what we don't have, the key things. So we're looking through the tree here and we don't see water shield. There's no water shield, so it looks like your mana regen, hopefully they buff just your passive mana regen. That's going to need to be buffed, or something's going to need to be changed. Resurgence is really going to be the only way for you to get back mana now, it seems. So there's no water shield. You won't see Earth Shield in here. There's no Earth Shield in here, which blew my mind when I first looked at these. No Capacitor Totem and no Ascendance. So obviously there's going to be some real big changes to the spec straight out of the gate. Just before we even look at the talent tree, there's going to be some big changes, okay? So let's talk about some new things that we do have here in the tree, okay? So the first one is going to be Earth Shock, okay? So Earth Shock, it's just this the same as it is over in Ellie, but now rest of shamans have it. Another thing that older shamans will be glad to hear is back is Stoneclaw Totem. Stoneclaw Totem is the same as it was beforehand. Without the glyph, the totem isn't really useful for anything in particular. So nothing big there as of yet. Maybe there'll be a new talent, maybe there'll be a new glyph that really puts this back to its former glory, okay? So the next thing we're going to be looking at, and this is really the big change, and I'm sure you see it on the screen right here, it's going to be Shamanistic Rage has come to the Restoration Tree. Now, this has been called for many times in the past, and it's finally been done, okay? 1 minute cooldown, 30% damage reduction for 15 seconds. This can be used while stunned, okay? So very big change. I think a necessary change. As we get more into the talent tree and the PvP talent tree, we can decide whether or not this is warranted. But just keep that in mind. Shaman Rage is now available for rest of shamans as well. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and jump right into the tier 15 talent tree. This is the first one, and first off we have Undulation. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but also before we start, one thing I'm going to do is to shorten up the video a bit. I'm going to focus more on the talent we're going with and less on the other two, okay? And we're just going to focus on why the choice we're going with is so good instead of why the others are so bad, okay? We're just going to briefly cover the other two, but mainly we're going to focus on our choice, okay? So first off, every third healing wave heals for an additional 75%, so this could be pretty decent. Some games you don't even get off 3 healing waves, so some games it'll be useless, okay? Rushing streams is the same as it is right now in the talent tree. Your healing stream now heals 2 targets at once, so it doesn't have the additional 15% increased healing, so it's even nerfed from what it is currently in WoD, okay? And the third is Torrent, so Riptide's initial heal is increased by 50%, so this is a big one, okay? This is a big one, and we're going to go ahead and go with Torrent here. Riptide's initial heal, that is such a big, that's one of your main outputs when you're getting trained by melee or when you know that you have to fake interrupts. Instant cast spells are very important. And later on down the tree, we're going to have Echo of the Elements, which of course gives you many charges, multiple charges of the spell. So increasing Riptide's initial heal, very important. This is the go-to talent. I don't see how the other two could be better than this, unless maybe you're against a Warlock comp and you need to heal some spread pressure, but rest of Shamans are pretty good at that anyway. Torrent is going to be your go-to choice here. Okay, so we are now over here to the tier 30 talent tree, and this one has some interesting choices, okay? first of all, we're going to talk about the one that, in my opinion, is not going to work out, which is Windrush Totem. It's yet another totem on a 1-minute cooldown that increases an ally's movement speed, um, if they walk near the totem, which, in my opinion, is not nearly as good as the other option. So we're going to skip out on Windrush Totem, okay? So the first choice, in my opinion, is going to be Gust of Wind here. So let's take a look at that. And Gust of Wind, it's just a 15-second cooldown, and it's going to hurl you forward. So similar to Displacer Beast for Druids, I feel like this is fantastic. If you've ever played a Resto Shaman or you played with a Resto Shaman, you know that one of their main problems is being trained by melee DPS, okay? So this is going to be a fantastic tool to get you out of melee range of those, pesky mongoloids that simply won't untarget your shaman. And 15-second cooldown, that's very, very good. That's, almost half the cooldown of grip. So you can certainly get away from a Death Knight for at least 10 or so seconds. So that's very good. So let's check out the second option here, which is going to be here. It's going to be Graceful Spirit. So this reduces the cooldown of Spirit Walker's Grace by 60 seconds and increases your movement speed by 20% while it is active. So my initial thoughts in seeing this is we're going to assume that all the glyphs are the same, or at least relatively the same. So right now, Spirit Walker's Grace, the main use of this spell is to activate the glyph, which gives you 5-second aura mastery, okay? 5 seconds of uninterrupted casting, okay? So we're going to assume that's the same case here. And if this reduces the cooldown on your aura mastery by 60 seconds and increases your movement speed while it's active, this is going to be the go-to choice if you're against a caster team, where you don't need to get away from those melee DPS that are constantly training you into the ground. You just need to get those casted heals off, and this is going to be your go-to talent. You can, maneuver around the pillar a lot easier, so you don't have to worry about polymorphs or counter spells. This is going to be the go-to talent against range DPS caster cleaves. And next up we have tier 45, and this was, in my opinion, this is one of the most lackluster tiers, and you have this is mainly the crowd control tier, okay? So first up we've got Lightning Surge Totem, which is essentially just renamed Capacitor Totem. 5 health air totem at the ground, explodes after 5 seconds, and stuns for 5 seconds. It's decent if you can get it off, but if you're against any team with a brain, why would they ever let that explode? It's 5-second charge, okay? Earth Grab Totem, same as it usually is. Pretty decent, especially against melee DPS. Voodoo Totem summons a Voodoo Totem at the target destination for 10 seconds. The totem pulses every 5 seconds. So once again, this totem takes 5 seconds to pulse. So, and this replaces Hex, okay? So you don't get both. It's one or the other here. So it hexes every enemy within a 3-yard radius, okay? Every 5 seconds. So takes 5 seconds to go off as well. If this doesn't have a glyph to reduce the charge time, it's just going to be bad. It's such a short range, and no one in their right mind is going to sit there for 5 seconds and let you hex it. Okay, very bad. So, I hate to say it, but Earth Grab Totem is really going to be the best choice here, most likely, unless maybe a glyph or something comes in for Voodoo Totem or the Capacitor Totem that really changes things to make them a more viable option. Now over at tier 60, we have some interesting ones. We have Crashing Waves. Your tidal waves generates 1 additional charge and increases the critical effect chance of Healing Surge by an additional 10% and reduces the cast time of Healing Wave by an additional 10%. So it just takes the benefits that it already gives you and further increases them. So that's always nice. Ancestral Guidance, same exact thing. It is now on a 2-minute cooldown, just duplicates your healing spells on party members. I don't feel like this is particularly good. It's like a mini Ascendance, which by the way is a talent, and we'll get to that later. But I don't think that's very good. Deluge, Chain Heal, anything that has Chain Heal in the title, we're just gonna skip. You're not gonna cast Chain Heal in Arena. Skip it, okay? So, Crashing Waves. I think this is gonna be a big one. It further increases your crit chance for those giant heals on Healing Surge, and reduces the cast time of Healing Wave for those, mana efficient spell casts. So, Crashing Waves is gonna be the go-to talent here. I think it's just mathematically better than a 2-minute cooldown. This affects all of your single target heals, which is your main output. So this was really a staple of the Restoration Shaman spec, prior to WoD. Increasing your health before you get bursted, or a teammate's health before maybe a Rogue Mage Druid opens on you, or RMP, or a cleave opens up on you. This is very important, and it adds even more safety to when you top yourself off, because not only are you at full health, you have even higher increased health. Okay, so you're topping yourself off even further. So I think this is definitely going to be the go-to talent. Earthen Shield Totem could very well be good. You have to keep an eye on that one. Now, tier 75 is where things get a bit interesting. When I first saw this totem and this talent, I thought that at first I thought, wow, that's crazy. But then the more I think about it, the less I like it. It's Ancestral Protection Totem. Summons a totem at the target location. The first ally who dies within 15 yards of the totem can actually reincarnate with 20% health and mana. Okay? But which seems crazy at first. If one of your teammates dies in arena, they can just res. But here's the thing. If they died one time, they're almost certainly going to die again, especially when they resurrect in execute range. Okay, so if they get executed one time, they're going to res, they're going to get re-executed, and game over again. Waste of a talent, in my opinion. You need talents that are going to prevent your team from dying, rather than bringing them back from the dead. Okay, so next up is going to be Earthen Shield Totem. This is closer to what the old Stoneclaw used to be. It basically summons a totem at the feet of the caster, same as usual, and absorbs damage from each attack against allies within 10 yards until the totem dies. Okay, it's on a 1-minute cooldown. This could be pretty good, but again, with talents or totems that are talents, they're just so easily killed. You get all of these cool buffs on your healing stream totem, and then you're not able to use them because they die in one hit. So this could be good if you're getting trained. You'll have to keep an eye on this one because this could be a viable option. But let's take a look at the next option, which is Ancestral Vigor. Targets healed by Healing Wave, Healing Surge, Chain Heal, or Riptide's initial heal have 10% increased health for 10 seconds. So this used to be in the game, I think, MOP. So this was really a staple of the Restoration Shaman spec, prior to WoD. Increasing your health before you get bursted, or a teammate's health before maybe a Rogue Mage Druid opens on you, or RMP, or a cleave opens up on you. This is very important, and it adds even more safety to when you top yourself off, because not only are you at full health, you have even higher increased health. Okay, so you're topping yourself off even further. So I think this is definitely going to be the go-to talent. Earthen Shield Totem could very well be good. You have to keep an eye on that one. And next up we have tier 90, and this one is pretty interesting. The choices are pretty good relatively, but the thing is that one steps above all the others. So we'll talk about the other two that aren't very good first of all. We have Bottomless Depths. Resurgent always triggers when you heal a target below 60% health, so this would increase your mana regen by a good amount, because your teammates are below 60% health pretty often in an arena match. Even with RBGs, things like that, this would keep your mana up relatively well, but it wouldn't increase your healing throughput very much unless you're going a lot, in which case maybe you need to really work on your game plan there. Next up is Cloudburst Totem, and this is just the exact same totem it is right now, which is in the tier 100 tree in WoD. Not particularly outstanding, but it's just the best of its tier. So lastly, we have, of course, Echo of the Elements. And this spell is just so good, even in its current iteration right now in WoD. And they've even went a step further. So not only does it give you 2 Riptides, it also gives you 2 healing streams, 2 links, and 2 earth shocks. Okay, so right now it gives you 2 Riptides and 2 spirit links and 2 unleashes and WoD. Well, this is going a step further and giving you 2 healing streams also. Okay, so this is just going to be mandatory in my opinion. I can't really see a situation where you would want either of the other two instead of this. 2 links just seems to be mandatory, even though that rest of Shamans before WoD had to deal with just 1. Um, just nowadays it seems necessary, just absolutely necessary. So Echo of the Elements is certainly going to be the choice. And last but not least, we have tier 100. And we're going to go right to left here because I feel like that's about the order of importance with these. High Tide, this is a chain heal talent. Skip that. Never. Okay? Never chain heal. Okay? Wellspring. This is something that could very well be good. But without testing and without me really getting on the PTR and really trying this out, I can't for sure say that this is going to be good. So Wellspring could be a viable option when it comes around time for the Legion pre-patch or for the actual expansion release. Okay, so keep an eye on Wellspring. Could be very good. It's 1.5 second cast, 20-second cooldown. But that's a pretty high spell power percentage. And of course we have Ascendance. So they took it out of your spellbook and they put it in the tree. Now the thing about Ascendance is that we know for a fact that this is very powerful, okay? Extremely powerful. So, there's no reason not to get this. High Tide is garbage and Wellspring is uncertain. So, as of now, Ascendance is the choice, okay? They've just took a a spell that they know for sure it works and they know for sure is fantastic, and they've just made you choose now. So they did some similar things over in the Warlock talent tree, and they're doing a thing here where they take a mandatory spell, throw it in here, and make you choose. So Ascendance is right now the best that we know of. Wellspring could be an option, but we're going to go ahead and go with Ascendance.